Ceslie Carlotta, right?
Correct, yes.
Hey yo, rollin' with the king, got me feeling 50 deep. Like, who should I fear when the angels rock on me? I walk with confidence, cause I know my faith makes me optimist. In my prime, so I know they ain't never stopping this.
My parents were part of the youth ministry. They introduced me and my sisters to like Christian hip hop.
I keep my hustle up on the day to day. I don't waste no time and I wait.
You know, some people have the story where like, I always knew I was going to be a rapper. That wasn't my story. 18 was kind of a really hard year for me. I was going through depression. I was suicidal. I was very insecure. Just had a low self-esteem. I just remember feeling like so broken. Like, God, I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to change. I feel like I've been from 18 to now.
You had this testimony about plastic surgery.
People in my friend group, something like, yeah, girl, if you're insecure, just do it. I finally felt like if I do this, I'll feel better about myself. I'll stop settling, because internally, I was still.
There was a situation where some men were trying to traffic you.
The guy comes running out really quickly. And then we dart back into the matrix. He comes back in not shortly after that.
Oh my gosh.
If we don't have power to fight back, then we will be overtaken. Like, then he does not care. So that's why it's so important to.
Hey guys, we have Ceslie in the building. Please like the video. It helps us out with the algorithm. And also subscribe if you're feeling it. And hit the bell notification to notify every time we go live. And we got Brother Ashley in the building. So yeah, Ceslie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Blessed. How are you doing?
I am great. You were 18 when you found you needed to make a change. And 22.
Yeah.
To finally go and make it plain. Talk about it, sister.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I was like, wait, when did I say that? But that was actually when I was a rap that I put up. But yeah, so I was 18. 18 was when I really hit this point of like, I need to change, but I don't know how to change. And it was really 18 was kind of a really hard year for me, because I was just experiencing so much. I was going through depression. I was suicidal. I was very insecure, just had a low self-esteem. And so it was just really like, I graduated high school and it was summertime and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know why I'm here. I know I have a purpose, but what is my purpose? And I just had so many questions, and it just felt like nobody could really answer those questions. But I was raised in the church. I was raised all my life. And so I knew who God was. And my parents really made it a big point in our lives, and me and my sister's lives, to be close to God. But it was just more so of like a going through the motion for me. So I would go to church and I would go to Sunday school and Bible studies, but it was just more so of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. But it wasn't necessarily making, like, those seeds were planted for sure. Like those seeds of, going to church and being mentored by people. Yeah, at 18, I just was like, I have to make this change. I don't know how to. And that's when God began to, I began to encounter God in different ways. Like, I know I mentioned on my Instagram about dreaming. Like, dreaming was one of those things where I began to dream and I was like, okay, like, and mind you, like I was in the church, but I just wasn't not like knowledgeable of a lot of stuff. And so I started thinking, am I having premonitions? Like, I was thinking all these things, like I didn't know, because it was like I would have these dreams and then they would happen. And I'm like, well, what is this? I don't know what this is. And so as I started to meet more people, they started to kind of just plant seeds and say, okay, God is speaking this. Because at the time, I didn't know that. I just thought you read the Bible, you have a relationship, but I didn't know that like God actually spoke back. And I know that sounds really bad to say because I was in church, but I didn't know like he spoke back to us, or he
that's real.
through his word. Yeah, I was really naive in those areas. And so from 18 to 22, although I knew I needed to change, I still found myself going back and like, I'd be like, God, I need to change. But then I'd go back into my old ways and old patterns, and seeking attention and affirmation from relationships from 18 to 22. When I hit 22, there was a specific thing that happened. I was in a relationship, and it didn't end good at all. And I just remember feeling like so broken. Like, God, I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to change. I feel like I've been from 18 to now 22 at that time. I feel like I've been, trying, but I feel like I'm not strong enough. That was like my biggest thing, where I'd be like, I feel like I'm so weak. Like, I do good for like 4 or 5 months, and I'm doing good. I'm in church, I'm reading the Bible, but then I fall back and I hop back into a relationship, or I go back to an old relationship. And so it was just like a constant tug of war, it felt like. And then once I hit 22, I just was like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I've exhausted all my resources. And then I have 2 older sisters, and they were like, hey, like, we need to intervene. Like, what's going on with you? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. And so it was such an emotional time. But in that time, like, that's when I feel like I grew so much closer to the Lord. And so, yeah, that's why I say 18 and then to 22.
That music video that you did, Heiress, is that what it's called?
Okay, yeah. So
that's like your life
yeah.
story, ain't it?
Yeah. Honestly, so when I dropped Heiress, it was I'm trying to think back, man, because I feel like there's so much music that I recorded prior to Heiress that I never released. And now as I look back, I'm like, why didn't I release that music? Because it shows your growth, like your journey. And I feel like that's what, when people can look at you and they hear your story, that's how they relate, is like, oh, growth, like over here. So anyhow, so I dropped Heiress, and that was really just like me saying, okay, God, like, I'm going to walk in an office of it. I'm going to walk as your daughter. Like, everything that you have for me, I want to walk in it, and I want to be bold about it. I don't know what that looks like, but I just know that I have to take steps towards it. And then 2021 is when I dropped Heiress. I had social media 2016, and I deleted it, came back 2017, and was like, okay, I'm going to do this for God. Like, I'm a rap, and I make music for God, and I'm going to make sure that I'm being intentional with it. So.
And now you got, 15 different Instagram pages now? So give us a rundown. It's because you do a lot now. You came back and you said, you know what? Since I'm here, I might as well.
Exactly. No, yeah. So I do have quite a bit of Instagram pages. So I have my workout Insta page. So I am a holistic health coach. So I have that page where I kind of just share helpful tips about food, about working out, about just different things concerning health and wellness. And then I have my That's the Last City page. That's when I was living in the city. And then I have my crochet page, Carlotta Made It. And so that's where I'm just showing different designs and what I make. Because last year I actually got into crocheting. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a page for it. So I'm actually working on my Etsy shop so I can get that up and start selling products. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we put all of the links to your pages, to your Instagram mall in the description. Make sure we put it in there. And you have a new song, Made It. Is that the most recent one?
Yeah, Made Mine. That was the one that I
Made
dropped at the end of last. Yeah.
Why?
And then I have one coming out tomorrow. No, it's funny because my it's so much going on, but it's funny because my Instagram page is called Carlotta Made It, and then Made Mine.
That probably is what. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Made Mine came out at the end of last year, and then tomorrow I'll be dropping an old song that I recorded, but I felt like it's like my testimony. So I'll be dropping that. It's called Mirror Mirror tomorrow. February 14th.
Okay. Well, y'all be on the lookout for the Mirror Mirror. I think Made Mine, I think that's like my favorite one. It was Heiress, but then Made Mine, I was like, it's taking me back to my roots. Let me still be saved though. Based on I'm still saved and I'll listen to this song. But no, it's yeah, because it's got that flow. I'm thinking about the cover that you did. Now I wanted to ask you, like, how much are you paying the Ceslie, those kids in your videos? How much are you paying them?
Oh, the kids in the videos? Oh, my nieces.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm paying them with Jamba Juice.
Ooh,
Dates to Jamba Juice.
They live
the
life.
They make sure they get this. They get the biggest drink. They're like, give me a large. Yeah, they make sure they get
I said they motivated. They not playing around.
Yeah, they really are. You know what? They're very creative. That's one thing about my nieces, and I'm sure a lot of kids, but they're so creative. So anytime I'm like, hey, you guys want to do videos? Like, yeah, they'll give me advice and stuff. So yeah, I pay them in Jamba Juice. So they're paid off.
They're paid off. Okay, until you need them again.
And so yeah.
That's cool. They're probably gonna grow
Yeah.
up to be little choreographers. The
I
way
really
that you
think
got
so.
them. Yeah.
Choreographers, directors, I could see it for sure. So, but no, yeah, they definitely a joy for sure.
You know, you were saying that you were insecure at one point. I just kind of want to know where were you at? Where are you at now? Because you were talking about like you had this testimony about plastic surgery.
Yeah, so I'll just go back. So yeah, growing up, like I had mentioned, I was very insecure just with everything, like my body, everything, just not accepting me in general. And so as I got older, people in my friend group, they start turning to plastic surgery. And so it was just like something like, yeah, girl, if you're insecure, just do it. Like, just go in and get it fixed or get what you want. It's that easy. You just pay for it. I was like, I'm doing it. So I start going to plastic surgeons. I start going to consultations, start putting money into it because I'm like, I know I'm going to do this. Like, I finally felt like if I do this, I'll feel better about myself. I'll stop settling. Like, I just had all these things in my head of like why it's the best decision for me. But I had this deep conviction at the same time too. Like, even though I'm going to these surgeons and I'm talking and I'm feeling like, oh, this feels like it's the right decision to make, I still would come back home and feel really convicted. Like, God was speaking to me, I believe, through that. Like, the Holy Spirit was convicting me, even in like while I'm walking in that. And so, yeah, so that was kind of like my journey with it, where it was just like I would go and then I would feel so convicted. Then I would go, I keep doing it. And then one of my friends actually one day called me and I shared it, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was just going to be me and my friend. We were going to go, but I just shared it. And this particular friend was like totally against it. Although I wasn't that close to God in college, he was like the youth pastor of the campus, I guess you could say. He wasn't a youth pastor, but he had that vibe. Like, he was telling everybody about Jesus. He was just very honest with people. And so we became friends. I think we both got injured. I was an athlete, we did track. And we ended up in the training room, and then we just started talking about God and how he was raised in church, how I was raised in church. And then from there we became friends. And then, yeah, so I wasn't going to tell him. I don't even know how that came up in the conversation when we were talking, but he kind of like corrected me and rebuked me. And I was like feeling really like convicted. But at the same time, it was like that truth that I needed to hear in that moment. And so that kind of like put me on this journey of like, okay, God, I want to accept me for how you made me. I don't want to have to, and this is not to knock anybody who's done plastic surgery. Like, I'm not trying to condemn people, but it was just more so of a thing where it was like, God was really pulling on my heart. Like, no, like, I created you the way you are for a reason. And so that kind of just took me on this journey of just learning how to see myself the way that Christ sees me. And it hasn't been easy. I mean, I've had moments where I'm like, well, God, is it bad if I just go and do this, that? And it's just like, no, like, and so it's definitely been a journey, but I definitely am growing. That's the biggest thing, is like, I'm growing, because I think for a long time, I was like, how am I going to help? Because I would always get words like, people would say, God, you're going to impact women, young girls. And I used to think to myself, how, when I don't even accept myself? Like, how am I going to make impact and I don't even see myself the way that God sees me? So there was a lot of different things that were going on in my mind. And so, yeah, but no, it's definitely been a journey, and I'm still growing and I'm still learning. But I'm definitely not who I was 2016, even last year. Like, I've changed.
Do you think that if you got the procedure, any of those procedures, that it would have made you more confident? Or like, do you think that maybe it'll be like the new car effect, where you feel good and then you go back? Like, what do you think would happen?
Honestly, I feel like for a moment, because the thing is, externally, it probably would have made me feel better about myself, but there was still something going on internally. So like, although I probably would have felt better, or, oh, look at me, you know what I mean, type of thing. I believe it still would have been not enough, because internally I was still broken and looking for affirmation from others, and that was one thing with one of my friends who did go through with the procedures, and she was like, man, I just feel like I can't stop now, because it's so much deeper than just an external thing. It's an internal thing. The Lord was speaking to me. It's like, yeah, you can get all of it done and change it and maybe feel better about yourself, but you're still going to be, okay, there's more, I need to do, because you're without me. And so that's the realization that I had. But no, yeah, I definitely think it would have been like, okay, yeah, this is nice, but I think I would have probably kept doing other stuff if I didn't find the Lord, and I did it.
It's interesting. No matter how many compliments you get, no matter how many, girl, you don't need that. What? Like, what effect do the compliments have when you're dealing with that internally?
They don't. You hear it, but I said this to God. I said, why can't I see what they see? Because I didn't, it was like, I'm hearing, oh, you're fine, you're pretty, you have this, you have that. But I don't see that. And so that was kind of like, I had a lot of just transparent, and God knows everything, but just like a lot of transparent conversations with the Lord of like, I need to break this. Like, I need to get out of this.
It's interesting to me because what you're saying, that's like such a philosophical thing that people don't know. Like, most women, when they look in the mirror, they could be 10s and they see like 2s. And men can be like overweight, old, bald, and they be like, bro, I look good. I've seen it. They come to me and they say, bro, like I just got a little bit of stomach. You know what I'm saying? 400-pound people. I just got a little you know what I'm saying? It's so funny, like like you look in the mirror, be like, I look good. Do you have those days where you look in the mirror, you like, I look good today?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I believe now, yeah, definitely now it's like, okay. And I think seeing myself in a healthy way, because I know there was a time, because one thing I never wanted to do, especially when I got closer to the Lord, was like see myself as like an idol, or like, oh, look at me, look what I'm doing. But I believe I see myself in a healthy way, like the way that God sees me. So yeah, I have moments where I'm like, okay, like last year, the year before last, I was weight training like a lot. So I start, training heavy. So I started to gain muscle and different things. And I was like, well, okay, so it was stuff like that, where it's like seeing my progress and seeing, what the body can do and how God created our bodies. Like, so yeah, definitely have those moments for sure.
So you have a church. So, and you said you were raised in church, right?
I was raised in church. Yeah, I was raised up in church my whole life. My parents were part of the youth ministry, so they weren't raised in church, but they introduced me and my sisters to like a lot of Christian hip hop. So at that time when they were coming up, I think it was just like gospel gangsters that I know of.
I know about gospel gangsters.
Yeah, T-Bone, and then
Fight Temptations. Yep. Come with the yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then Cross the Movement. And so I came up on that. And it was something that I kind of introduced to like my church group, because like they didn't really know about that music, the little kids at least. And so I would, have my parents pick me up and have it playing. And so when they're riding with me, they're like, oh, this is cool, So yeah, I was raised in the church, and I spent a lot of my life at church. It wasn't until I got older, and I didn't want to be like a churchy person. I didn't want to be a church girl. I didn't want to be any of that. I was like, I was attracted to the rough, so yeah.
You could say
so it was, yeah.
My friend Anna, she found your page. Oh, I found you from her page, and she said that she found the Christian Nicki Minaj. Do a lot of people call you the Christian Nicki Minaj?
I think that was like maybe the second time that I heard that. I think especially when I'm rapping. But it's not something that I try and like, I feel like when I'm rap, it's not that I'm trying to do it, but it's just more so like when the music comes on, I just feel like, yeah, I'm gonna go after this.
So when you get into it,
yeah.
that just happens. They said Mally Music sounds like he has an accent.
Honestly, growing up, I was very quiet, like very quiet, introverted, shy. If I don't have to talk, I'm not gonna talk. I just want to be to myself and I don't want to be noticed. God kept like speaking to other people and speaking to me about doing music. And I'm like, there's no way because I've never, some people have the story where like, I always knew I was going to be a rapper. That wasn't my story. I didn't always know that I was going to be a rapper. I thought that I was going to be a dancer because that was something that I loved. And would record myself dancing. Like that was just something I thought I was going to do.
Like hip hop dancing or something?
Yeah, hip hop dancing because I wanted to be.
You need to meet Anna then.
One day, I feel like we definitely will meet. I would record myself, and then I started to write. I always wrote poems though and poetry, and then one day I just was sitting in my parents' kitchen and I wrote to the song. I don't know if you heard "Words I Never Said" by Lupe Fiasco.
Oh yeah, I love that song. That's that.
Yeah.
In my mind, right?
Yeah, that's the song.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah.
I love that. We used to work out of that song all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my song. So I really liked that beat. So I just was like, I'm going to look up the instrumental. So I looked up the instrumental and I just started to write and I wrote a song to it. And I never rapped. And I'm probably like 19 or 20 at the time. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to, do it. And so then I think my sister got home and I was like, hey, I'm going to rap this song to you. And then I rapped it to her and she was like, you actually don't sound bad. She's like, yeah, you sound kind of good. And so I showed my mom and she was like, you sound good. So that's kind of how that started to evolve. But then a few years went by again and I wasn't really picking it up. I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm quiet. Like I just wanted to live behind being quiet and being introverted and just being in the background. But God kept pulling me. Kept pulling me out.
Where my organ at?
So yeah, that's how things began to go, and even up until now, like I still am like, okay, like I want to do this for you, getting outside of myself, getting outside of my comfort, and doing it because I know that God is calling me to be a light and to impact those around me.
Your vlogs on your channel be blessing me because that'd be like, oh my gosh. There was a situation where some men were trying to traffic you. And I just saw the movie Sound of Freedom. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's just when I heard you say that, it became more real to me, because people hear it and they're just like, that's terrible. But they don't feel like, oh, you could have not been here,
Right.
So what was that situation like?
Yeah. So me and my sister, we were in San Diego, California, and we were at the mall. And I believe this happens at this mall a lot. Actually, after the fact, I looked it up and I believe it does happen there often. So yeah. But no, me and my sister were there at the mall and we're just kind of having like a sister day. And as we're walking around, I started to notice a certain race of men. They were like planted in certain spots. So there's like the food court. There's some over in like promenade area where they have like kids and stuff. And then there was a few in front of the food court, I believe. But I wasn't, I'm observant, but at the same time, I was just kind of, like me and my sister were talking and stuff. So anyhow, we start walking and these two guys stop us and they were like, oh, hi. And it was so weird how it wouldn't even happen. But anyways, they come up to us and they just start asking us random questions. Like, do you like Kanye West? Like stuff like that. And we're like, not really. Like, and so we were just like, oh, okay, yeah. And then they're just asking like, oh, so where we live and that type of stuff. And then they asked what we were doing that day. We're like, I wasn't going to tell him what we were doing. I'm the older sister because I have a younger sister. So that's why I was with my younger sister. I was like, oh, no, we're just kind of figuring it out. And so they're okay. So they walk off. So it's two guys, one really tall one and one really short one. They walk off. And then I see like another two guys coming up. But these guys look similar to the other two guys. And I'm like, okay, like that's strange, but whatever. We go into Macy's. And I'm like, I'm telling my sister, but I see these other two guys that I seen after the other two guys. So the first two guys passed, the other two guys, I see them kind of telling us when we go into Macy's. So I told my sister, I was like, hey, do you see those guys following us in there? And she's like, yeah, but I didn't want to think like that was happening. So I was like, okay, maybe it's in our heads. We're tricking them. We go out and then we kind of go behind, like, I think it was like behind this wall thing. The guy comes running out really quickly. And then we dart back into the Macy's. He comes back in not shortly after that. We go back out. He's still following us, the two guys. We go find a security guard. The security guard's not really helpful. He's kind of like has an attitude. And we ended up going to the Macy's. We go back into the Macy's because the security guard takes us there. We tell the MAC makeup worker, hey, we think these guys are following us. Can you like help us get back to my car? And she's like, yeah. So I'm explaining to her what's happening. And she's like, yeah, that's such kind of stuff does happen here. So we end up kind of like rushing out. We talked to her. She's like, okay, I would just go to your car now. So we end up rushing out. When we rush out, these two guys, we see them get on the phone. And it was like God shined this light. I'm not even lying. I remember telling my sister, it was like God was like, it says like everything that's done in the dark comes to light. Like it's like this car. So there's a car. They're on the phone. I see them get on the phone. I see this guy in this. He has like this SUV. It was like the light shined directly on him. So I see him get on the phone and I see them on the phone from behind me. We run so quickly, but it was like he was signaling to him, they're coming out of the store. We get in the car. He doesn't end up following us or nothing like that. But it was just kind of like a situation where it was like, that was close. Because if we weren't paying attention, if I wasn't paying attention saying like, wait, why are these random guys coming up to us? Why are they now a different group of guys? But they're all the same race. So they're all like dressed similar, same race, all of that. And then just noticing calls and text messages being made, it just being discerning and like gauging and watching really, I believe, saved us in that moment because, yeah, they were definitely had a plan and they're trying to execute it. But glory be to God. Because when you shine the light on that car, that's when I knew, like, oh, that's who they were trying to send.
Thank God for that, because you cannot take situations like that lightly. And you could think of like, oh, well, maybe they just, coincidences, and you just like, look.
Yeah.
You just gotta be careful. You have to be watchful. If you weren't paying attention, you probably could have missed some of those signs that, being aware of your surroundings, like, because they're not trying to make it obvious, so
no.
you just, I know you wake up sometimes just thanking God that you here because you made it out of that situation. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think in general now, it just, because I was last year when I wasn't necessarily living on my own, but I was alone a lot. So being vigilant and making sure that I was very aware of my surroundings was very important. So yeah, I think just as a woman in general, and not just, say men also have to be aware, but just as a woman in general, you have to be on guard and vigilant and making sure that you're not distracted by your cell phone and, because that one easy slip up, and by the grace of God, I'm here, but I'm just saying you want to make sure you're doing your job too and you're staying vigilant and on guard.
Amen. There was a moment when you said you had stopped praying.
It was dark for me. It was really dark and emotional, frustration. Like I was frustrated. I was very angry at that time too, like very angry. It wasn't a good time for me at all. And so I think that's why now, I know, there's people that struggle with depression and suicide and all those things. And those are not things we should take lightly. Just say, oh, that person just is depressed, or like, no, I believe, and I'm not trying to blame everything on the enemy or anything like that, but I believe that is oppression. Like those are demons oppressing people. And you have to come to that knowledge to be able to say, okay, this is oppressing me. And how am I going to fight against this? And we can't fight against something if we don't have power. And the only way we get power is through the Lord. If we don't have power to fight back, then we will be overtaken. Like then he does not care. So that's why it's so important to know who you are in Christ. So that way, when those things do rise up or they try to hop back on you again, you're able to fight back with the word of God. As somebody that struggled with it, to be able to now speak out and say, like, I can't just, oh, that's just something that people struggle with. No, like it's deeper than that.
There are people that, are narcissists that do a lot of gaslighting or whatever. So they said, yo, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to take my life. And I thought he didn't take his life. So,
okay.
But at that moment, I was just so annoyed with him that I just said, like, bro, nothing you do can make me stop talking. Like, you got to learn your lesson. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what the best way to deal with that would have been, but I look back and I'm like, I was young, so it wasn't like the craziest thing I could have said, but it was like I took it upon myself, like, nah, I'm going to apply this pressure and teach you a lesson. Like, I'm going to talk when I want to talk, right? So there's an argument. He was like, I could have taken my life. I don't know why you, and you really can't take that lightly, but like, if someone's like that, like, what do you think you would do?
I think, honestly, sometimes just having like a conversation, like getting to the root of it, like you may not get to the root of it through one conversation, right? But I think just being able to create that trust with that individual and talking with them, letting them know that you care. So that way they can express how they're feeling, and you can, figure out ways on how you can help. Now, I will say there's times where you also have to be, mindful and careful, because if somebody's not willing, you can lead a horse to the water, but if they don't drink it, that's on the horse. So if you're trying to help someone and they keep just saying, no, I can't, like, then that's different. But if they're willing and open to hearing you out and they're going to take some of your advice when you're helping them, then so I think just being able to build trust and open that line of communication with them and making sure that they feel heard and seen, that's going to be really important. I think with anybody struggling, if it's depression or suicide, even just like low self-esteem, I feel like just building that trust and that communication, it's really going to help.
So what we like to do on the show is I like to tell you what I think your superpower is. May not be associated with an actual superhero or whatever, but it's like your ability that I see, right? And this isn't some, let's say, at the Lord moment, but this is what I see. So I see that your superpower is this amazing endurance, right? So when you're fully depleted of all your energy and you still have like some fight left in you, it's like you get beat down all the way to the lowest point, and it's like, how in the world did she just get back up after I just knocked her out? How did she just do that? Just from the stuff that I've seen that you've gone through, to me, that seems like probably one of your strongest traits.
I was a distance runner, right? So I would do like the 5Ks, 3,200, like all that stuff. So that was always something that I was really strong at, was endurance. I always was, like my best miles were always the last mile, because it was like, okay, I would prep, and then it was like at the end of the race, like I would kick it into gear. So that kind of like, I felt like I correlated that over to when I used to race, because you have to be strong mentally in order to endure, especially in those races. And I was running at a competitive level. So it was painful, but it was like, I feel like I always got stronger the longer I ran.
So this is the wild card segment.
Okay.
So we just ask you some random questions. I say we, like, hey, everybody, it's just me. So I ask you some random questions, and you just answer it however you want to answer it, okay?
Okay.
So the first one, what used to scare you as a child?
I think being by myself, like getting left alone. Like if I didn't see my parents or something like that, like that would terrify me.
You're not getting scared now, are you?
No, not at all.
Right, just making sure. Somebody there with you. You okay? No, I'm playing. Yeah. Call your mama now.
No.
Oh, playing.
No, that was just a child. You said as a child, right?
Yeah, as a child.
Okay. Just making sure I heard that right. Because if you said that and you didn't say child, I'd be embarrassed. No.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Okay.
I mean, we get scared. Okay. We get scared now. We get left alone.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, I like that. I like it.
You actually like now? You scared when people are around? Oh,
So I'm like,
social
no,
anxiety.
no, that's not what I meant. I meant
Yeah.
like I like quiet, and yeah, I like the quiet.
What is the main thing on your bucket list?
I want to have a farm. That's like something that I really like on my bucket list. Like I want to have a farm. I want to have horses, lambs, sheep, chickens, big produce. Yeah, that's something I hope to make a reality, God willing. So,
Wow, that's crazy. I have people
yeah.
at the church, at my church, that do that. And then my sister, she's trying to do some gardening in the back to grow some, produce and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. So yeah, God willing, I'm gonna do that.
Why do we do things that we don't like to do?
Ooh, I feel like we could do things that we don't want to do sometimes because of maybe approval of people, fear of people. It could be now if it's working out, like if you're working out, like some people don't want to work out, but they do it. We do them because we know they're good for us. Like we know that working out is good for your body, it's good for your heart. Eating right is sometimes it can be nasty. You're like, oh, I don't want to eat this, but you know that it'll be good for your body. So in that sense, it's because it's good for you. But in other senses, it could be because we're afraid of what people will think or what people will say. And just seeking like outside approval.
What is the most embarrassing thing that you have worn? It could
Oh,
be
you know
anything.
what? No, okay. So at the time, it was my junior year, and I was going to prom, and I had went prom dress shopping with my mom. And when we went dress shopping, my mom was like, we're not gonna be out here for long. I don't want to spend too much money. So let's just, get this done. So we go to this dress shop and they were like, oh yeah, we have a few dresses in the back that are like under $100. And so my mom was like, okay, yeah, bring them. So they brought them out. And I remember there was this like pink, it was like a baby pink though. It was a baby pink, silky dress, and it was long and it wasn't ugly. Now in hindsight, it wasn't that bad, but when I seen it, I did not like it at all. But my mom was like, I tried it on. She's like, that looks good. And I was just like, I don't really like it. She was like, no, this is the last place you're coming. Like, you're just going to get it. So I ended up getting it. And I remember going to prom and I was like, it's so ugly. The whole time I kept telling my date, it's ugly. And he's like, no, it's not that bad. I'm like, it's so bad. And I was
Did he
crying
say
about it.
it's not that bad? Is that how you said it?
He said, it's not that bad.
So he didn't say, girl,
like,
looks good. He said, it ain't that bad. You look all right.
Exactly.
You straight. I mean,
So
you're not the worst looking one here. Is that
right? So that made me feel a little bit more worse. Like,
I
okay,
know
you
it
say
had.
it's not that bad.
Golly. But he's
So that was
young. He don't even know what to say.
I didn't even look at my prom pictures for years. I was like, it was so ugly. But now I'm like, it was okay. It wasn't. But at the time, it was like monstrous. I was like, it's so ugly. So I would say that.
When I went to prom, everybody had caked up makeup, looking like Mulan, and they was like, "Hey, Ashley." I was like, "Boy." Somebody hugged me, got something on my rental tux. I was like, "Are you crazy?"
That's wild. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely.
16-year-olds don't even know what they doing with makeup.
No.
I was like, I'm
That's
not
so
bringing
funny.
nobody.
No. It's so funny because when you're that age, you feel like you know stuff. I don't know. It's just crazy to
You
look back
do.
at it.
We all feel like we were grown.
Mm-hmm. You really do.
We feel like we grown now. We'll be 40, 50. We're gonna be like, I was a kid.
That's
At
true.
37, I was a kid. It's like
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a journey. Life's a journey. You're always learning and growing. So I'm sure 10 years from now, God willing, you'll look back and be like, oh wow, I thought I knew. But
what is the difference between cockiness and confidence?
I believe that cockiness comes from external, or what you have, or what you think how you think people perceive you, or how people compliment you. I believe that confidence comes from within. Like it's something that it's like nobody can take it away from you. Cockiness, I feel like it can be taken, because if people start, downing you or talk, it can waver. But with confidence, I believe confidence comes from within, and it's genuine and authentic. It's not sustainable, but I believe confidence is within, and it's sustainable. So, and it's authentic. It's real. I definitely think you can tell the difference from when somebody's cocky and then from when somebody's confident.
Like lying to yourself in the mirror when
Yeah,
you need to put that cheeseburger down.
exactly.
But
That's
if I'm
exactly.
confidently eating that cheeseburger, no, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
So what they say, fitness pizza in my mouth.
Fitness whole, yeah. I remember that. That was, yep, I remember that.
But that's the fitness I like.
Stuff. No. The Lord doesn't want that for you.
Oh Lord, another one. No, just playing. Judgmental Christians. No, just playing. No, I love it. I love it. That's what we all need in our lives. People to be honest with us and not, have that balance of not like, when you garden, you tear something down and you plant and you build it back up. It's like, hey, bro, you cannot sing, but let me tell you what you can do. Or
exactly,
you're not the worst singer. But you need to work on your pitch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Instead, you suck, bro. Like, what?
Yeah. Don't present a problem if you can't give a solution.
Well, Ceslie, this was such a great conversation. I had such a good time. I didn't know if you wanted to give any final thoughts before we get out of here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's definitely been a pleasure. And this is my first time doing something like this, so I'm just excited that I was able to come onto your platform. And I just want to say thank you again, and I hope that this blesses you and everybody else that sees it.
Thank you. Well, Ceslie, this, like I said, I had such a great time, and little brother Ashley had a good time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And guys, if you could like the video on your way out, and also subscribe if you're feeling it, and hit the bell to get notified every time we go live. This is Just Ashley Keaton, JAK Podcast. We're to help you get blessed, confess, finesse, and enjoy the process. In the name of Jesus, God bless y'all.